What's going on, everybody? We're back after a week of a hiatus, and this is the Big Go Belt Wrestling Podcast. Before we start off the show, just wanted to send out a message to everybody to definitely keep the BGB family in prayers, as one of our members is going through a tragedy in their family this week. So, again, if you could just keep us in prayers as we go through that as a team together. But we're back. Took a week off, mostly catered to me being in Vegas, doing some Vegas things. I was actually out there for the Canelo Alvarez and Triple G boxing fight. I know these guys don't want to hear me talk about it, but whatever.
You're gonna anyway.
I do have a hot question about it, because I mean, it burnt me up to watch what was considered the best boxing fight of the century, as they like to call it, and as they promoted it as the real fight. So. But with anything in Vegas and with anything in combat sports, there's always controversy. So, but anyway, before we get started, let's introduce who's on the show today. We have Caitlin, as you already heard. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, guys. Everything's going all right. It's really fucking hot in Toronto right now, so I'm ready for summer to be over.
We have Dr. M. Sir.
Glad to be back. It has been one hell of a week.
Yeah,
and I do mean hell. So it's glad to take I'm glad to take a moment and just chat with you all for a little while.
Indeed, we had you in prayers 2 weeks ago, as you was down in or escaping the path of Hurricane Irma. So it's good to know that you're okay, safe, and your families, everybody's going good. So a lot going on with that. And we have the giant crab, Jamal.
Hello.
It's
90 degrees today too. It's hot. It was hot today too, also here.
And before we get over to our topics, our resident movie expert, definitely a couple of hot movies coming out this week. So let's give them a little bit of a platform to give out some reviews for you guys.
Well, probably the biggest movie of the week is going to be Kingsman: The Golden Circle. It is part of the series from the 2014 movie Kingsman: The Secret Service, which is based on a comic book. If you like that one, you will like this one. It's pretty much more of the same, plus about 20 minutes. It was really, really long, and unfortunately, it's more of the same. So I didn't like the first one. I didn't have a reason to like this one. So I hope that if they continue on, and this will make a ton of money because nothing's out really this week. If they continue on, they do something different to kind of keep the series fresh. And the same could be said about the next movie that comes out this weekend, the Lego Ninjago movie. If your kids already love it, then they'll love it. But if you're not familiar with it, you don't really have a reason to like it, because there have been better Lego movies out. There's supposed to be 2 more Lego movies coming out in 2019, so hopefully they can, start over and kind of reinvent themselves, because it's kind of getting a bit passe now. And the third movie was Battle of the Sexes, based on the 1973 tennis match between retired tennis star Bobby Riggs, who was like a former #1 world champion, and current at the time tennis star Billie Jean King. Steve Carell and Emma Stone played King and Riggs, but it was actually pretty good. I know of the event. I wasn't born yet to see it live, but deal for women's sports, and it was definitely a big deal for women's tennis and the women's liberation movement and stuff like that. So they cover a lot of that and a lot of the match itself. So a really good movie overall. Probably something that if you were looking to see something other than things blowing up this weekend, you might want to give that a shot.
Cool. Something else I'm wondering, did you see? I think it releases next week. What was it?
True to the Game?
Yes.
Oh, God. I did not see that because there wasn't a screening for it, but
okay,
it's still out there. If you're a fan of the book, it's still out there.
All right, so look, I'm gonna make this short and sweet, and I'm gonna talk about the fight for this week. Quick, 5-10 minutes. I don't want Caitlin yelling at me.
Boxing.
So we're talking about, we're just in the boxing where we're just coming off the Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor fight, in which people felt that was a disgrace to the boxing world and blah 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 blah. So right now you do have two of the better pound for pound boxers in the world with Triple G and Canelo, both having a really unblemished record. One being undefeated and one having one loss against Floyd Mayweather. So this is the best. This is the biggest and best boxing match that they can build right now and give to the fans. And it happened. It happened short. The promotion and to the talks to the fight happening all was very, very streamlined. Unlike, Floyd Mayweather fights, which takes like a month. I'm sorry, like a year to 2 years to do. So we got the biggest fight possible that can happen. Fight was really good. It happened during Mexican Independence, Mexican Independence Day, which in that case, and Canelo Alvarez being from Mexican descent, Vegas was filled with Mexicans, and they came to support, and I got to give them that.
When is Vegas not filled with Mexicans?
I would have to say it depends on the event. I really would have to say, because the Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight, it was all Irish people. So,
you mean like at the event? I mean like in Clark County in general. Every time I've gone to Vegas,
I'm talking about in the tourist section, to tourist areas, and what you're running into on the strip. So that being said, the fight was one great fight and went all 12 rounds, and it came down to the scorecard for a decision. I will keep my opinion out of it or who I think won, but nonetheless, you had 3 judges score it. One judge scoring it 114 and 114, which is a tie. One having it scored 116 and 113, which is a narrow win for one person. And then one judge had it scored 118 to 110, which is completely a blowout for one person, which by HBO unofficial scoring that they scored by their color commentary on the screen was a complete contradiction to what he had. So with that being said, everybody booed or was wild because it was like they can't believe it. And that judge has had a past of controversial scorings. So it ended up resulting in the fight being a draw. It left a sour taste in people. Obviously, a draw is better than a defeat. But my question to you guys, not being super boxing fans, is if you went to the biggest match, the biggest fight, the biggest game ever to be built for our century, and it ended as a controversial win, are you just as hyped, or is there any, do you have doubts or reserve to want to see a rematch? Because immediately after this match, they said they was working on a rematch, and it brought sort of tarnish to the match and to the spectacle because of the fact that it seems it's all money driven. The fact that right after the fight, they're like, yeah, we're going to do this rematch. So my question is,
let me answer this because I think I know where this is going.
Yeah.
In sports like that, where it's based on, it's not based on anything concrete. It's not a score. It's not it's completely subjective. So in a sport that is subjective, you have to acknowledge and kind of like, even though it's the elephant in the room, a draw is possible. Americans hate draws and ties. That's one of the reasons why soccer isn't as big as it could be, because who the hell wants to sit through 2 hours of anything just to have it end in a tie? It doesn't make sense to general sports fans in the U.S., and I'm one of them. With that said, I don't like boxing for a number of different reasons, but one of my major beefs with boxing is the fact that it's completely arbitrary, the scoring.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly, and it's supposed to be like official or whatever, but it's the fact that there's no definitive way to accurately judge progress. Because everybody has, and the commentators have their scorecards. The 3 judges obviously have their scorecards, but what are you going to do? It's one of those things where you just kind of got to take it as a thing that is possible in the sport. Hockey used to have draws. They do not anymore because it's stupid. Baseball used to have draws at times for different rules and stuff like that, but they've kind of made changes to not have that. Football used to have ties. Well, they still do have ties, but they've made changes to the game that kind of prevents that. So It just kind of is what it is. Now, the way boxing is set up, as far as like setting up the next match and blah, 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 that's why I watch wrestling, honestly. Because no matter what the outcome would have been, it would have been, we'll have a rematch. And we'll do it in the cage. Ugh, whatever. I hate boxing.
I'm 100% on Crab's side for this, just because I feel like this whole scenario that has been laid out here really, to me, feels like a cash grab. And honestly, I mean, the boxing fan's gonna boxing fan. They're gonna be there no matter what. But I personally would feel a little bit ripped off if I made that trip and spent all that money and then got essentially a fuck finish. And then, hey, the rematch is coming. Pay all that money again. Like, no, guys, fuck off. That's stupid. It's like, I wouldn't do it for one. And when we were talking about that description, it almost reminded me a little bit of like when I was at Survivor Series and we got the Goldberg-Lesnar match. And it was so hyped and going to be such a big deal. And it was, 30 seconds? It was done?
Yeah.
And I mean, but that's wrestling. And I laughed so hard when that happened, just because, like, of course that's going to happen. But, you know, that was not the one main event like boxing, where it's just kind of the one big deal. And I don't know was it a lot of money to go? Like, I don't know what ticket prices are like for boxing.
Ticket prices are hideously expensive for boxing. I mean, it depends on the venue. It depends on the the hype for the match and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
It even got more serious now, because now certain boxers affiliate with certain networks. So now it's just like, well, we have to pay Showtime and we have to pay HBO in order for this to happen.
Right, because there's a lot of rights and there's a lot of money flowing around in boxing. And I'm not saying that the sport is rigged, and I'm not saying that the sport isn't technical, because there definitely are ways to do that. But even on its most basic fundamental level, some dude in a gym, in the bad side of town, it is still completely arbitrary by design, which is kind of BS.
Yeah, makes no sense to me. But
right. And I'll never forget walking out on that Lesnar and Goldberg match at the Air Canada Center.
Oh yeah, how did you feel about that? Did you feel ripped off by that? Were you like, what the fuck?
No, I left. I took a picture of Goldberg's entrance because I haven't seen it in 20 years.
It's so fun.
I sent 2 Chainz over there a picture and said, I'm out. I'm going to the bathroom. And I thought I was going to beat the crowd down to Union Station, and I didn't, and I was pissed about that.
How dare they interrupt your quick exit?
Exactly. I was hoping to be at the airport by then, but no.
God,
it didn't happen that way.
God damn, you got anything on this?
No, Crab and Caitlin pretty much summed up my thoughts on it too. I mean, I would probably feel ripped off in the moment, right? But at the end of the day, it's a cash grab, like Caitlin said. And I mean, it also sort of makes me think about, to Crab's point, it's one of the many reasons I enjoy wrestling, but at the same time, we have stuff like WrestleMania, which thousands of people track to every year. And then whatever the next pay-per-view is in late April, early May, half of the pay-per-view is WrestleMania rematches. So,
good point. Yeah.
I just feel like it's something that you almost can't escape in a lot of these combat sports.
Good point. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, that makes sense in that there are a finite number of combatants. There are a finite number of matches. And they break it down based on weight and all that good stuff too. So I understand, why it is what it is, where you have person A versus person B, part 17, the final return. But I just think the fact that you can have a legitimate sport and it feels like a cash grab feels dirty to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it's not like this is a justifiable rematch or this is anything like that. It feels like you were taking, a little bit out for your money, and that's the part I have a problem with. If that's the case, you watch wrestling.
That's my expression. Point blank. I think you answer for everybody tonight on that one. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. One, and my last comment, then we move on to the next topic, is that it would be pretty damn counterproductive for Vegas to have let the Mexican boxer lose, considering his Mexican independence. There's a lot of other events and promotions going on for the rest of the week for him. And it would be one thing to have your city on fire because of the fact of the result of a match. And that's technically what has always happened with boxing all the time. It's always just the majority, whoever's the majority in town, they take over, they run the city, and Vegas is just out there to make their money and nothing else. So Vegas doing Vegas things is the official hashtag for that one.
Yep.
But anyway, we got No Mercy coming up this Sunday. First of all, I feel like No Mercy just happened. When did No Mercy 2016 happen? Or was it like January? Or was it like February?
Oh, you know what it was? It was my birthday. It was October 9th last year. I remember that. So
okay,
we're a month ahead, essentially.
Oh, okay. We're still on track. But again, we don't emphasize on going down the entire card. We always like to go over what we think is going to be our highs and our lows. But I even narrowed it down even more narrow than that for us today. So, first of all, this No Mercy has 2 WrestleMania caliber matches on this card. And what I mean by WrestleMania caliber matches is based on analytics or tracking by how WWE does their booking. They always plan to try to book the biggest matches for WrestleMania. And we know, number one, that in 2 parallel worlds, John Cena is the biggest superstar in WWE, and Roman Reigns happened to be the next coming of John Cena, being there either his replacement passing of the torch or just the secondary biggest star. And up until now, they have not touched each other, rubbed each other at all. And I'm not quite sure if this started on programming on TV or was it actually over social media, because they've kind of started trolling each other at a point. But nonetheless, that match is happening. And then we have Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, which should be a very, very good match as well, considering both of their track records in destruction and just full-blown powerhouses and being entertaining at that. But my question to you guys is, obviously the build for John Cena and Roman Reigns initially started really good, and we had our reserve to say, was it too early or not? But up until this week, I thought it's been very entertaining. But I just want to know, do y'all think that the build for this match has been properly done to absolutely put an exclamation mark on it, saying this is a WrestleMania caliber match before the match even happens?
Well, the announcers are only reminding us of it every fucking time they face each other. We all know that's a Vince line, right? Like, oh, this is a WrestleMania match. Like, we know Vince. Come on, man. It's not. And I don't know if we mentioned it the last time we talked. I feel like we did, or maybe it was only in my brain. But I think the speculation is that because John Cena is going off to film the Transformers movie, he's got the injury waiver, so he might not essentially be able to do the season next year. So that's why they're rushing this and putting this on a pay-per-view. But I don't know. That's all speculation. So that's probably why it's happening now anyway. But I think, you're right. Like the promo started way too early for this, because we've had God, I swear, on Raw this week, when they're like, Roman Reigns makes a final response. I'm like, well, final response part 85. Like, we've heard everything he has to say. When it's very good. Don't get me wrong. It is very good, the work they're doing. But over time, how many times can you keep saying the same thing, but in a different way? I guess Bray Wyatt can tell us, because he's been having the same fucking promo for 2 years now. But in this case, you basically are watching to watch the train wreck of John Cena burying Roman Reigns with the promos. He's just so brutal with it. But at the same time, it's helping Roman get better, and I don't expect too much out of their match, because they're not, the people argue that they're both very good wrestlers, and they are. They're very capable. But I find them very boring, both of them, to be quite honest. I don't find their work believable, if that makes any sense to you guys. Like, it might just be the 5-knuckle shuffle looking like shit, like it always does. It might be the fact that Roman's got 4 moves and a flak jacket. Like, I don't buy into what either of them do really in the ring. So I'm not super thrilled on it, to be honest, but it's going to happen. We'll be told it's a WrestleMania caliber match 85 times, and I think Roman's going over. But that's how I feel.
Okay.
So,
the long and short of it is, I absolutely don't care one bit about anything John Cena or Roman Reigns could do ever in their lives. The long and short of it is, they had a good promo at first. It was nuts. It was unexpected. It was a big surprise. And then you realize that they have 4 weeks to go before the pay-per-view. And then we see the progress of diminishing returns. And now Roman's out there talking by himself. But when you start to fact check what he's saying, and I didn't watch Raw because I was at the movies, but I saw the promo because it's a promo of note. And he kind of accuses the Cena of doing what The Rock, or what Cena accused The Rock doing when they had their thing a couple years ago. And it's like, okay, interesting. But if you looked at WWE's homepage, you can see that they're in China this week. Some of the Raw guys, including John Cena, as they start their Chinese brand. So that's not true, Roman. What are you talking about? When Roman's like, well, Cena's going to leave you all and all this other stuff. Like, well, maybe. He's 48. What does he need to do? He's a 217-time champion. I mean, he's won every belt that there is, made a belt on Photoshop, 3D printed it, and won that one back. What do you want him to do? Do you want John Cena to be Ric Flair, 700-year-old mummy in the ring, taking bumps?
What a pun that was. And you don't like puns.
What pun was that?
The mummy pun.
That was not a pun.
Keep going. Keep going. The Rock to John Cena reference, and then the mummy. Do you want him to? I got you. See? You're just that good. You don't even realize it.
I hate myself a little bit more for you saying it. But still the idea is Roman Reigns absolutely sucks. He's never been good. I mean, sure, he's never been the technical wrestler that he needs to be, but none of the greats have been. Hogan isn't. Austin hasn't been. The Rock hasn't been. Cena hasn't been. When was the last time Randy Orton put on a 60-minute clinic? So, yeah. Right. So, and those are supposed to be the greats, the Hall of Famers, the future Hall of Famers. So it's not even about wrestling at this point. And the honest truth is, I don't know why I should care about this match. It's for the fate of WWE. Roman Reigns, the pissed off landscape architect and property rights owner, needs to know whose yard it is. And John Cena's like, meh, I live here, dude. I've done everything that you're trying to do and better. Who cares? It's the biggest battle of who cares since maybe Brock versus The Undertaker. Yeah, I would say so.
And for that reason, one point you said is this has nothing to do with wrestling. I mean, that's exactly why it's a WrestleMania match, because WrestleMania is all about entertainment. So, but yeah, Dr. M.
Well, I have to say, I do care about this match. Not because I subscribe necessarily to the idea that this is a WrestleMania clash of two larger-than-life superstars. I care about the match because it is my hope that finally we have a big match where Roman goes over. I think he should go over. And I hope we finally do something with Roman. I will keep harping on this until it happens. But I for the life of me, do not understand why Roman is not the biggest heel in the world right now. I do not understand. Back when he was working with the Usos last year and they were sort of teasing that alliance, they could have pulled the trigger there. Certainly after he beat Undertaker at WrestleMania, right, that should have been the start of a massive, successful heel turn. And yet we still have this sort of tweener Roman that gets booed by 85% of the crowd, cheered by the rest, right, that we're not quite sure what he is. At No Mercy on Sunday, not only should he win, but he needs to absolutely destroy Cena, be cocky about it, and there needs to be a full-fledged heel turn, or I don't think this is a successful storyline at all.
So basically, I believe we have two people saying Roman should go over, a person who probably is going to use the bathroom during this time, and that leaves me. First of all, the promos first week knocked it out the park. Second week, it's just like, Roman, if this was your opportunity to become progressively better on mic, considering now that you don't have to be shy or stumble over your words because you got it out your system the first time, considering that they gave you a John Cena hall pass because you could come out there and use whatever type of language or words you want to use, and you still kind of trip over your words, you're redundant in things you say, and I don't feel like you gained any leverage on this match because it's crazy. I don't know if I'm tripping or not, but Roman Reigns should be the biggest heel because John Cena was getting cheered in these promos, and it was ridiculous because he was talking the lowest he could talk about somebody without basically go spitting in their face, and he still was getting cheered. So, you know,
let me ask you this: if this is a WrestleMania caliber match, and officially I hate WrestleMania, but if this is a WrestleMania caliber match, and it's not the main event, what does that say about the main event?
Oh, main event should always be for the title, but I don't even know if that's even valid anymore.
But this is for the battle of the universe.
well, based on other stuff I watch on Saturday night, if one of these guys don't go Super Saiyan Blue, I'm just gonna be pissed off. So, yeah, and whoever else, the universe gets destroyed. Point blank. Okay. Sorry for the Dragon Ball Z reference.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. Yeah. Going forward, then. Assuming that Roman wins, and officially, I think Cena should bury his ass. I think it should be the first ever legit buried alive match.
Oh, I love that.
and that's the thing. Cena is so good at the buried alive match that he doesn't even need dirt and a shovel to do it.
I'm with that.
So,
I mean, I would go crazy if Cena buried this guy. I would be. Could you imagine if Cena beat him? And he buried him to the fact that we got like Roman Reigns versus Kirk Hawkins matches each week.
I think, honestly, personally, and if we're going to do fantasy booking, I think that Cena should absolutely destroy him and go off and do whatever he needs to do. He's got a couple movies coming out later this year, and over the next 18 months, he got like 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah. And
then Roman should take the next month or so off. You know, we haven't seen Roman since Survivor Series, or we haven't seen Roman since the thing, and maybe he pops up at Survivor Series in November, or maybe he just only does house shows. We just keep him off TV and let people not boo him anymore, and then he comes back, maybe not even repackaged, but you can lose that damn chest protector, but maybe not even repackaged, but like just reinstated in that as a different character. Not this tweener BS heel. He's not Stone Cold.
No,
He'll never be Stone Cold.
I have a really good similar path here that a lot of other people have pointed out. I'm not the first one to think of this, but if anybody's familiar with Tetsuya Naito in New Japan, he had kind of the same problem where he wasn't getting a lot of response from the audiences. So they sent him off to Mexico to do CMLL, I think it was. Someone can correct me on that. I'm really bad. And then he came back and started doing his whole tranquilo, I don't give a shit thing. And now he's like the biggest fucking guy in New Japan next to Okada. So a lot of people have been saying, like, why can't you do that with Roman Reigns? Like, exactly, take him off TV. You don't have to send him to CMLL, but, like, take him off, bring him back repackaged like you did with Naito, and see where it goes from there. Because, holy shit, it's done so much for that guy's career. Because he also was this kind of shitty, bland face that nobody liked, I think. And then, comes back and he's this cool anti-hero.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that's potentially what's going to happen to Dolph Ziggler?
Probably.
Dolph Ziggler's going to leave the company.
I think he's going to retire.
Oh, are we going to get into that? That question's coming up. Are we doing that now?
Oh, no. One last question, then we can switch. So, yeah. So, okay. So, we do have the Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar match. And, I mean, it sounds everybody's already not feeling this first match, but do you think that the Braun Strowman, between the two matches, what match do you think is going to be the most entertaining?
Between the two matches, honestly, I plan on watching none of them. The only match that I even remotely care about, and at like a feigning interest, is The Miz versus Jason Jordan. That's the only match that seems remotely interesting. I mean, if they go, whatever happens, happens. You know that Lesnar is going to be leaving sooner than later, so they can go do other stuff. Strowman honestly should have been the champion long ago. And the honest to God truth is that as much as I like Strowman and as much as I, want to root for him, he's not Samoa Joe. And I know Joe was hurt, but there's something that Strowman lacks that Joe has in his delivery on the mic, especially on the mic.
I agree.
That Joe has just inherently. And I don't know, maybe he's just like too much of a nice guy in person and it just shows. But, you know, he has everything that you need except for that one thing that Samoa Joe has that if he weren't hurt, Joe should be in his place easily.
I think just by experience is what really tips Joe on this one. I mean, Joe has not always been as stellar as he is now. And I think Joe definitely wanted this WWE opportunity more than anybody else because he deserved to have been here a long time ago. And what I mean by that is not because of, you know, what he's done all around the world. It's because that he's worked in promotions where his face wasn't on TV or getting the, you know, the publicity deserved. And yeah, TNA was hot for a moment, but he still was just like a guy that was just there. You know, he was overshadowed by the Kurt Angles and the Stings of the world at the time. So I think he just wants it more. And I think it reflects in everything he does. And in these matches that he won, especially the Brock Lesnar match that he wanted, he just wants it more. Braun Strowman, I think, is still a student to the game, which is reflecting in his mic work. He does look like, even in his interviews, he looks kind of nervous. But I think overall in the matches, he's very entertaining. He reached destruction like the old Big Show days back in WCW. And, you know, I think over time, I think hopefully he just keeps progressing. But I can tell you one thing, his progression looks better than in this short period of time that Roman Reigns have in like the last 3 years. So
I'll say this real quick. And I would say, like, when watching the Strowman match, I don't fear for the safety of his opponent the way I do when Lesnar music hits or when Joe's music hits. I mean, it's going to be physical, and he's going to, you know, throw him like a lawn dart throughout the ring or whatever. But I don't feel like, okay, well, somebody's going to die. You know, when you hear like New Jack music hit in ECW, and when you hear, you know, Tommy Dreamer, you know that he's coming out. You know, like it's somebody's going to die. It's going to be a problem.
Do you think that's because Braun Strowman is not technically a heel? Because this moveset doesn't say that. He does just come off as a monster and just that. So
I feel like in that case they probably just want him to be malleable because I don't think they've necessarily determined who's the heel and who's the face in this, have they? I mean, both he and Lesnar are they're both kind of working gray area, the two of them. And
yeah, sure.
So that was my big thing watching the promos, is trying to figure out, like, I'm not as fussed about heel face alignment as a lot of people are. I would prefer a lot more gray areas. I would prefer a lot more heel versus heel matches, to be honest, because, you know, I think it's fun. But I get that Vince is very much a stickler for the good guy, bad guy. But it's almost like there is a really blurred line here. And I think also, even outside of characters, what I'm really looking forward to seeing, because I'm going to watch the match, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But the difference between, you know, when you watch Brock Lesnar work somebody like Samoa Joe, you can tell that Brock definitely has a lot of respect for him because of the way that he sells, he works with him, and it makes him look like $1 million. And in return, like, that was a great match. But you compare something like when Brock was facing fucking Dean Ambrose and giving him nothing, or when he was sandbagging Randy Orton. Like, you can really tell when Lesnar has respect for his opponent because he'll give you more. So I don't think we've seen enough of him fighting Strowman yet. I have a gut feeling that it's going to be great. I feel like it's going to be a good matchup because I think Brock's putting a little more into it now. I don't think he needs that fucking belt. Like, I keep forgetting he's the Universal Champion. So this is a title match, right? Like, I don't know.
That's a good question.
Is it a title match? I don't know.
It's a good question.
I'm assuming.
Goddamn, what you got here? Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlin. I know you wasn't finished.
No, that's me just ranting about none of us. The fact that none of us know just kind of says a lot. Someone please find out if it's a title match. Because if you want to put this, okay, great. Well, if you want to put the belt on Braun, rather, then please, because how is it elevating Brock Lesnar in any way? It's really not. So, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I think it's gonna be a good match. Why not?
I don't know. Paul Heyman's promos have been kind of like 50-50, like with the all of the what ifs or what, you know, that type of thing. I'm not sure if that's working for Brock. If y'all remember remotely of him saying, you know, and if Brock went out there and did lose and stuff like that, like I was kind of confused by that last promo, but that was just my only really reserve about this match is just that last Paul Heyman promo on Monday. Dr. What did you have for this?
I would just say that I plan to watch both matches as well. I actually expect both matches to be entertaining. As much as, you know, we can nitpick various aspects of both, I think both have had great builds, right? Sure, there are things we might have added, right? But I think overall the builds have been great. And I think both are going to be entertaining. One or both will probably exceed expectations. And I hope Braun Strowman wins, but I won't be mad if he doesn't, because I think we could argue that it might be too early. And with Brock with the belt, if that means more Paul Heyman on TV every week, I will never complain about that.
But isn't that kind of a problem though? And I really feel the same way with Cena and Roman. I don't need any of them to win. Like if Roman wins, fine. If Cena wins, fine. But and Strowman and Lesnar, if Lesnar's still the champion, okay, that doesn't really change anything. And if Strowman is the champion, then okay, fine too. But who is his next program with? You know, that's kind of a problem for me because there's no one to root for or against.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean that's kind of what they've been doing in WWE lately, where they don't really have a like a top. Well, they definitely don't have a top heel. But everybody's in too much in the middle ground. They're not, except for like Kevin Owens or even Jinder Mahal. You know, they really need more definitive heels. They have a lot of tweeners and a lot of faces.
Jinder by I'm not even gonna get to Jinder yet, but
oh god,
Jinder Mahal is absolutely a heel. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Right.
Yeah, but before Jinder, the Dolph Ziggler thing again. I'll start with Dr. with this, and he's coming out with this anti-gimmick of debuting people's interests, and I'm just not quite getting it. I don't even know how to even pose the question, but what do you make of this, or explain this to me? What is the direction here?
I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Go for it. Tell me why you hate it, because I'm sure it's the same reasons I hate it.
You know, I think the ideal storyline, like when it starts, like the first time a storyline gets underway, you should be able to have some idea of, okay, this is where they might be going, the one or two directions they might be going in. Dolph Ziggler has been doing this for what, 2-3 weeks now, and everyone is totally confused. And I honestly don't see this going anywhere. Honestly, I thought Dolph Ziggler was preparing to retire about 3 years ago. And it would not shock me if his retirement is imminent right now, because, I mean, who can he feud with right now? He's basically feuded with most everyone, except for, you know, Bobby Roode. I've heard some rumors about that. And I think he's had a fairly successful career, right? Yes, he's had his injuries, but not everyone gets to hold the world title. And he's held it, I think, twice, right? He's been on WrestleMania. He's been in main events of pay-per-views. I don't think there's anything left for him to do, and I don't think this storyline is serving him well, which is, I think, why I dislike it. I think he should, if he is headed out soon, I think you want to head out with a respectable legacy behind you, and I don't think this is adding to his legacy.
Oh, yeah, good point. There's nothing there. I mean, I have so much secondhand embarrassment that I mute the TV and I do something else, because it's like watching a man have a live breakdown on your TV every week. And they're trying to spin it into something that is just not going to go anywhere. And yeah, the idea is that at some point Bobby Roode's going to come out and glorious DDT him on the ramp. But that's cool. But that puts Bobby in this position of being a face, which I don't know. Are we ready to see Bobby Roode as a face? I don't know if I am. I'm not. So I don't know what they're doing here. I think Dolph should have gone. Like, what's left for him to do? He's like Randy Orton. What's left for him to do, really? I mean, his time's passed. There's nothing left for you now, Dolph. Come on.
You know what? This feels like the Emelina thing, where it was just like, oh, okay, where is this going? And then WWE's going to say, oh, no, let's just go ahead and put a plug on this. But that should have happened 2 weeks ago for Dolph Ziggler. And we're 2 weeks in, and we're all still wondering, like, don't see the point here. It's absolutely not good. I have not watched. I've watched SmackDown live the last 2 weeks. I would not be surprised if Hulu takes this section out of it on their replay, because it's completely pointless.
Do you guys think it would make more sense if we still had Talking Smack and he actually was able to explain his actions a little better? I feel like it would give a better dimension to his crazy madness.
Well, I've always said, Talking Smack was a place for, characters to get themselves over or try to point some direction as to what they're doing. It worked really good for Baron Corbin. And it worked really good for all of the women on SmackDown as well, too. So with that being gone, it's just the element of we do not understand the method of your madness. You are not quite getting over with the fans. It's no excuse for certain people. I mean, even Aiden English feels a little bit more guided than Dolph Ziggler right now. And that is a big no. So, yeah. Just get rid of it. Point blank. Do something with Dolph. I have no answer for what, but just stop this right now. Crap.
I gotta be honest with you. I haven't watched SmackDown in months, so I really didn't realize that Dolph Ziggler was still on the show. I thought he had been sent out to main event territory or superstars or whatever they have. But it sounds like he's doing a poor man's Damien Sandow a bit, and
good point.
It's the long and short of it is that Ziggler, had his moment. I was there Raw after WrestleMania, where he beat Del Rio and cashed in Money in the Bank, won the championship, and that was great. It was probably the loudest crowd I've personally been in a long time. But that was like 5 years ago. So what else? Unfortunately, though, I don't think Ziggler's done. I just think that they have a lot of guys with no direction, whether it's an Aiden English or Sami Zayn or Ziggler, what's the and on Raw, all of the women, they just have them there and they don't really do anything with them. And it's really unfortunate that it happens, but it's everything that the Superstar Shakeup said that we would avoid. We would have new and fresh matches, all of these new rivalries that would come about, and they resorted into sticking in the same 5 or 6 people into the same slots and forgetting about everybody else. And unfortunately, Ziggler is in that back of the bus with everybody else. So as far as what he can do, what else has he not done? He's done the impassioned speech. He's come out as everybody famous over the last 10 years, 20 years. So, but then again, what could he do that Sami Zayn couldn't do differently and try to elevate himself? So, obviously you do need mid-carders. Not everybody can rise to the top, and I understand that. But how much is Ziggler's success or lack thereof his lack of imagination or handcuffing by management saying this is what you got to do if you want that paycheck at the end of the show? This is what your role is right now until we come up with something else.
That's a good point.
Not everybody can be the New Day or the Usos and say, hey, we're going to have a rap battle, guys. And they pitch you to a room of, 50-year-old plus white men. Not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be Roman Reigns and low-key curse on TV. So a lot of people just have to kind of play the hand of their dealt. And unfortunately, Ziggler has been doing that for a long time. So, I wish him well because we've seen him at his best. And now that he's nowhere near that point, it's kind of like, well, is this the end for him? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to answer like to the point of what should he do, and I just new theme, new look, new attire, something to create some interest to see what are you going to do. as much as I like Baron Corbin, you hate Baron Corbin. I got to be honest. Baron Corbin also has been one of those type of what's happening here? He's acting like a wrestler with ADD because he's losing focus as to what's his ultimate goal or what's his direction. And I know it's creative that that ultimately decides that, but it looks silly from the viewer's point that one minute you're chasing the world championship or you're chasing the new hottest free agent to. Now, don't forget, you owe me a title shot type of thing with AJ Styles. It really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you have to be adaptable, right? And I feel like that's also Ziggler's problem is that he hasn't adapted. Isn't that just the crux of it? That he has not adapted his character, his look, his music, anything. He hasn't changed. And it's probably really easy, especially with guys like Corbin, to figure out ahead of time, is this a character you can see changing and morphing and adapting over the years? Because I can't with Corbin, for sure.
I wouldn't mind Ziggler taking the trip to 205 if he makes weight.
But I guess the question is to that, though, how much can you change? Because it's not like Coach Kofi Kingston or Xavier Woods, or hell, even the New Day in the beginning. They came out as a gospel band. And now they're bronies. That was not an overnight change. Yeah. Bray Wyatt from Husky Harris to, Bray Wyatt. That's not an overnight change. And unfortunately, we've seen like the death of Bo Dallas, who went from top NXT star, arguably greatest champion, blah, 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 NXT, to basically a heel version of what John Cena does to a poor man's Damian Sandow, backing up the Miz. So that's the part of the problem where everybody says that you need to do this and there's brass rings to be grabbed and all that BS. And it's like, sure, if you let us, but how much of that dictation is coming from Vince saying that, Ziggler is, 5'6" with a decent face, a square jaw, and blonde hair. Vince has a vision for that, and that's Alex Riley, that's John Heidenreich, that's Matt Morgan. That's what that look that Vince likes. And who is Ziggler to say, well, I kind of was thinking about doing a Spider-Woman type of thing. No, we're not doing that. So, I hear stories about how people pitch things and get shut down immediately because Vince likes what he likes. But you're right, Ziggler hasn't changed. I'm not entirely sure that he should. His gimmick is generic enough to be heel or a face, unlike Bayley, who is stuck as a heel, as a face, unless she threatens to alienate her core audience, tween-age kids. But Ziggler can do it if he has the but
at least he has it. Go ahead.
Can I just add, I think I just figured this out, and WWE can just send me their check later. But as I've mentioned in the past, am a big proponent of stables. I think Ziggler should be a leading figure in a stable. I don't think he has a change at all, right? But I think being in a stable, especially if we think back to the ECW days, I was a big fan of the Impact players. Justin Credible, Lance Storm, Dawn Marie, and I think some other guy was in it at some point. It just worked. It clicked. I could easily see Ziggler in a stable with Maria and Mike Kanellis. Where the hell are they? Right? Probably some big guy in the stable like Luke Harper maybe. I think that would work perfectly, right? Because you have three solid workers. You have Maria who's pretty solid on the mic. Ziggler can fairly well enough handle his own on the mic. And with the right storyline, I think that could easily rejuvenate all four of those stars.
I actually do think that could work. Now I think about it.
Well, considering that
I don't hate it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And they don't really have stables in WWE naudays, at least in the main roster anyway.
Yeah, you know what?
Why not?
And I've been thinking for the longest, this whole rumor of potentially Authors of Pain coming up, and then Sanity to be right behind them after Whisperface just went face. So that gotta mean something. If you got a solid stable that's pretty much substantial Insanity, what are they gonna do when they come up? Considering that there's no other stable out there for them to face. So I think it does work. I think Dolph Ziggler with Big E and AJ Lee that absolutely worked for all three of them.
Yeah.
Even with Big E being the mute for like half the year, you know. And look how much charisma that dude had in him. Who would have ever thought? So, I think it could work. But talking about things of the past, Paige has been. It has been rumored to be returning soon, but has been confirmed by WWE that she will be returning soon. So everybody answer whatever you want to answer. Do we want this? Are we excited for this? What makes this work?
Nothing.
What did we expect?
I'm so down because I have a lot of hot takes about this. It's not a hot take. I don't care. I'm going to take Crab's stance here and just say I don't care. Because
why is that my stance?
Because you don't care about most things that we talk about. God, she's burned so many bridges and burned so much goodwill, and there are so many better women wrestlers than her right now. I'm sorry, I was never impressed by her, and I don't think she deserves a second chance. I'm sorry, I'll put it right out there. I do not think she deserves another chance. Pass, hard pass. That's it.
I think that she should go to NXT.
Well, actually, there's a big vacancy open for her as being the top person. That may not be a bad idea.
I don't think that she's ready to come. I mean, not she's ready, because we don't know what her progress is right now. And she did have surgery on her neck, I think. So that's very serious. But assuming that she comes back, they have a hard enough time on the main roster dealing with women in general. Giving them meaningful storylines, giving them a reason to watch. They're barely higher on the totem pole than 205 Live, which is a different problem, but equally unfortunate. The idea is that Paige, especially with the movie coming out next year, money to be made there. There's some merch to be sold there, and overall, I would say she can go scratch, but no, there's a lot of money to be left on the table. Send her to NXT.
I was just checking real quick. So she's not going to be on Total Divas this next season. Something I
That's not a thing.
Yeah, it is. Something I was talking about, a couple of months ago about maybe that's why they're keeping her around because of the movie, and Total and E has not officially fired her from Total Divas. So I mean, she definitely has a story worth E quality because that's all they go for, stuff like that. But she's not on it this season. I think she was replaced by Carmella, and then we have Nia Jackson and Alexa Bliss. But
the problem with stories, shows like Total Divas is they can be truthful but not too real. So when you talk about oh, you didn't take out the trash. Well, I thought I did, but you didn't. Blah. Find out what happens next time on Total Divas. Did they take out the trash or not? That's as salacious as it'll get. But when we're talking about assault and battery charges, her privacy being invaded, and a sex tape being disseminated, remastered in 3D, allegedly, and it's certainly not on a PlayStation right now. But the idea is that stuff is not what E looks for in Total Divas. Those are the stories that you can't tell anyway. You can't have cameras follow her around Mexico City when Del Rio's, drop kicking homeless people in the chest, or whatever drunken rampage he's on that week.
That's for the Lifetime Network.
If she were pregnant and 17, it would be on Lifetime.
I can tell you what, if she wasn't with Del Rio, there's a good chance that she'll be very open about this too. E.
Well, still, the idea is they need happy stories with happy endings. And here are 911 tapes of Paige crying in the airport does not sell tickets or get sponsors to buy. That's what send her as to NXT, have her work with Ember Moon, to get herself back together, and then move her up when, to see if she still has it. Because NXT has a lot of time to build. And we haven't seen her wrestle in 2 years?
Yeah.
So we don't know where her mental state is. We don't know what her physical state is. So have her go down there for a couple months and put together a program with a competent wrestler down there. And if they feel that she can come up, then fine. And then after the movie's over, send her ass to Evolve.
But
I really don't need her on my TV anymore.
I would just quickly add that I don't necessarily want to see her back, and it's not that I don't like her. But where would she go? There's too many people in WWE, right? Where would they fit her in? If we think about Raw, a 3-hour show, and we have some women on the Raw roster like Mickie James that we see once every 4 weeks. So I think Paige would sort of just add to the bloat of that roster, and even on SmackDown Live, we see the women more often, but some women we might see in backstage cameos, but they don't wrestle for 3 weeks. So, I mean, there's literally no room for Paige, is what I'm getting at. And so I think she'd just be better off going somewhere else.
Yep, NXT, have her win the NXT championship. She'll be the, only 3-time champion? See how the crowd reacts to that?
I don't know how I feel about giving her another belt, since seeing what she did with the first one.
Okay.
No, I just have this horrible idea that they're going to leave an empty spot in that women's match at the next takeover, and it's going to be Paige.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Just saying.
Okay.
The belt got Maddox, and I don't think we need that again.
Look, we're gonna go over the last controversy, the biggest topic. We'll go last. So let's go through these last 2 topics real quick. WWE is bringing back the classic WCW pay-per-view in Starcade. Reactions. First of all, I hate it.
I love it.
I hate it. For one,
fight.
all the pioneers
I don't care.
of Starcade are not involved in this. And the fact of the matter is, it's been announced. The card has already been announced, and you even have legends appearing for it in Ricky Steamboat and I forgot who else. Oh, and Rock and Roll Express. That's fine.
Wow.
But you still have Sting that's sitting out there, and you have Hogan, who I guess is on better terms because I keep seeing him on different people's promotional videos. So if you're gonna do this right, and it's considered a house show pay-per-view, which means that it's gonna be on a random Saturday or something. And typically those pay-per-views don't hold up pretty good.
It's the week after Survivor Series, in November. The on paper, I'm a huge fan of WCW. I grew up watching WCW, and selfishly, Starcade, the last 7 or 8 were here in Washington, D.C. at the Verizon Center. True. So I was there for all of those things. It was my Christmas gift almost every year as a kid growing up. Same thing with Great American Bash being a birthday present almost every year growing up in Baltimore. With that said, WWE can grow screw themselves for 2 reasons. Number one, this is the same weekend as WrestleCade, a big independent promotion, fan meetup, and almost like a convention. It's not officially a wrestling convention. And they're going to have a lot of stars and a lot of indie talent, a lot of indie shows.
It's as official as any of them is ever going to be.
Right. And that is happening in, I want to say, Raleigh, North Carolina. That's whereas true. Starcade is going to happen in Greensboro, North Carolina, about 2.5 hours away. The same weekend. So go after yourself, WWE. You didn't need to do that. You definitely didn't need to do it in the next biggest town over. And you definitely didn't need to play on the nostalgia of old NWA territory, which is where WCW came from, by putting it in the heart of Flair Country, North Carolina. So that's a total dick move. Secondly, I would rather see WCW is dead. I cried, for about a good 18 months after it died. I'm still getting over it, some 16 years later, but it is dead. And so is ECW. We can't bring back those moments. The world has changed. We are in a different place as fans now. Point case in point, last Tuesday Smackdown, where a quote-unquote joke gets a "that's too far" chant. Okay, whatever. But that's the world we live in now. So it will never be 1997 all over again. It will never be Starcade 01 ever again. That has passed. With that said, I would rather see them bring back the In Your House series. Instead of having 40 pay-per-views, then they already do house shows on the weekend. So why not just do, whatever show, whatever named event in your house and show it on the network? Kind of like what they did for Roadblock in Toronto. I think that's what it was. Well, one was in Toronto, one was in Pittsburgh, I think. But still, they can definitely make that work. But calling it Starcade in North Carolina is just a cash grab to get attendance up. And house show attendance has been in the trash, the last couple months. And they know it. And if you've seen the pictures from last Monday's Raw or Smackdown in the Bay Area, not only did they block off like half the damn building, but attendance also was trash. Like they were talking about like 5,000 people for Raw. And I know that both of those arenas went for 20,000 seats easy for basketball or hockey. So you keep Starcade name out of your mouth. I would love to go, but I hate North Carolina. And do anything else but that. But if you're not going to do it right, then don't do it at all.
Yep, I agree. Kaylin?
I have no opinion, to be honest, because I am not a WCW person at all. I missed that whole era, to be honest. I didn't watch anything. So I'm not exactly... I know it doesn't matter, but like, is there a conceit to the Starcade pay-per-view that I'm missing? Like, was it like War Games? Was there something that...
It is...
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's okay.
Right. So it was some of the biggest moments in WCW history happened at Starcade, and I was there. So Bret Hart's concussion when he took that kick to the head from Goldberg was at Starcade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were so salty that Christmas was ruined. Goldberg ruined Christmas, this bastard. But yeah, a lot of seminal moments. The formation of the NWO, the finger poke of doom, and like a lot of those things happened at Starcade. So it was a massive deal. And it started like the first 3 or 4 were in the Greensboro Coliseum, right on the details of NWA territory.
How can we forget the debut of the Crow Sting?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, now that
they had like 25 Starcades or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now that I got the background, it is really dumb. They're using that name for a glorified house show. Like, that's really stupid.
Right.
And to be honest, well, like when I've said to be honest like 20 times already, but when I first saw the lineup, I thought this was a joke. I mean, the Booby Rude thing was great for one, but also saying that Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express, like the whole thing, I thought it was an elaborate gag. I did not take this seriously until all the dirt sheets and everybody picked it up as being a real thing. So I'm just going to say I'm going to believe it when I see it. But whatever.
The reason why they have that is, again, part of the WrestleCade, big nostalgic wrestling weekend in Raleigh. And then, of course, Starcade and that nostalgia in that name itself, to have Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express there is, another. It's basically a big cash grab for to boost attendance. And if they were to do a similarly pointed show by having in 10 years, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels sign autographs at the Bell Center in Montreal, or have a bunch of the Ty Dillinger versus Brood in Toronto, which would be a bigger draw there than probably anywhere else in the country or in North America. It's kind of the same deal.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, the two legends or set of people that we announced that's going to be at the show had no real significance at Starcade. Even DDP had a moment at Starcade that they could have bring him in for. So it's literally, when I seen it at first, I was just like, oh, somebody's trolling around. Then the Coliseum, they tweeted it, still didn't believe it. And then I really had to check some sources to say okay, it's really happening. But is that really going to be the car? Oh yeah, that's really going to be the car. And it's going to be a house show special. It's all blasphemy to me. And that is one of I'm pulling my crab card here. I will not be watching that. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, I'm not sure if this is actually going to be on the network. I have not confirmed that. The event will happen, but will it be televised? I don't know. I would like to see more events like the Live at Madison Square Garden special, or Roadblock in your house, or whatever, or Starcade, or whatever they want to do. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be once a month, but once a quarter. If they can take what would be a house show and give people a reason to go and us a reason to watch the network, because we're here for the wrestling, not for, you know, dancing with the wrestling stars or any crap like that.
Yeah, Roadblock was very good. Roadblock was very good as an example of that.
Yeah, we saw the Revival for the first time on network.
That Triple H Dean Ambrose match was very solid. So you can get good things out of these. But
right, and it doesn't have to have the production of a Raw or SmackDown or pay-per-view. It's a house show, and nobody's expecting it to be anything bigger.
And even Beast in the East back in the day, the Neville versus Chris Jericho match was a stellar match. It might have been the best match of that night. And you know, you do get gems like that. I get it, but let's just go ahead and rename this to something else instead of Starcade.
But I would like to see more Beast in the East, or a live show when they do like, what was it, Jericho versus Cena in Hawaii last year or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they had another show that's similar in Australia. Yeah. That was a pretty big deal, like Nakamura versus Owens.
Yeah. In
Australia a couple months ago. I mean, I'm not saying that I would wake up at 2 a.m. for that, but maybe if the card is presented right.
Right.
So you know, get some GoPros and stick it out and broadcast it.
Dr. M, you got any remarks on Starcade returning?
Like I said before, I love the idea. I don't see anything wrong with them using Starcade. It's clearly them trying to appeal to nostalgia. Like many of us, I grew up very much looking forward to Starcade every year. Remember my dad ordering on pay-per-view. And sure, it's a cash grab. They're a business, right? I've never taken a business class, but this seems like a good business move to make, right? And I mean, I don't feel like this is a reason to criticize WWE, especially when they have a few weeks later their superstars working on Christmas night. I think that's something to be upset about. But I mean, I think Starcade is fine. I think it's going to be entertaining if it is put on the network. And yeah, it's a cash grab, but I mean, what do we expect? And if we're talking about cash grabs, promotions like Global Force Wrestling, which I just learned, will be having a show on WrestleMania weekend right across the street from WWE Access. We want to talk about cash grab, right? I think that we have a prime example there. And so, I mean, I'm not going to criticize WWE for this. I think it's a logical move. It's going to draw numbers because it's appealing to nostalgia, right? We can criticize who's on the card, but at the end of the day, it's a show, right? They're trying to entertain, and there's going to be an audience that's entertained.
I can say one thing. First of all, for Global Force trying to pull that maneuver with trying to do a show across some access, surprised WWE's even allowing that. But at the same time, WWE's probably not even worried because it's like Global Force, they're not going to make it to April. So good luck. But I guess that's the thing. And I still don't believe they're going to get a lot of, well, I don't know. We'll see. At least they're trying to be relevant if they'll survive to then, but we'll see. Speaking of WCW, it would be a shame if we didn't go out, if we went off on the show without talking about the late great Hall of Famer Bobby the Brain Heenan, who passed this week. This week, or was it? When was it?
Sunday. It was Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, yeah, this week. And one of the I gotta say one of my favorite voices in WCW. Definitely love this commentary, the energy, and just how raunchy he could be at times as well too. And a lot of his antics and stuff as well will definitely be memorable being a WCW kid. So just wanted to give everybody a chance if they wanted to share any of their favorite memories or thoughts on his passing.
I definitely remember him as a commentator. People love to wax poetic about Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, but honestly,
tell him, man.
For me, it was Heenan, Zbyszko, and Tony Schiavone.
Yep, all day.
Or Heenan, Zbyszko, and Eric Bischoff as like my three-man dream team commentary team. But as far as a manager goes, he's one of the best managers, arguably the best manager ever. And he was, just really, really funny guy. Just great ring presence, and he just knew what to say at the right time to get that reaction from the crowd. I mean, he just arguably the best ever at what he did.
Anyone else?
I would agree with that. I mean, this is a big loss in the wrestling world. I think I most enjoyed Bobby Heenan at the commentary table. I was actually just looking on the network a couple weeks ago at WrestleMania 17, which is certainly in my top 5 of WrestleManias. And that was the one where he called, along with, I think, Mean Gene or somebody, where they had the gimmick battle royal. And I spent the entirety of that match laughing, not only because the match was absurd, but Bobby Heenan on commentary was great. And the fact that we've lost that voice is a tragedy.
Yeah. Can't name it in that there.
Again, I really missed a whole lot of that era, so unfortunately, I do not have a lot of Bobby Heenan moments. But I will say that I was at Smash Wrestling on Sunday, and we did a 10-bell salute.
Good.
Which is very nice. And right after the final bell, someone screamed, "I love you, Bobby!" And it was actually so perfect because we all just started cheering. And I really got, I got a little emotional just seeing, like, Corey Graves just tweeted, "Without him, there is no me." Yeah. And I just thought that was so perfect. It was so perfect. So I think they handled it really well. And I think, I think the tribute they showed on Monday was fantastic. And by all accounts, they're filming more footage for a further tribute. So I just think they've done a really good job honoring that.
I think this is one of the brighter moments where the death of WCW was a hard thing, but it's a good thing to know that we can still watch a lot of that on the network. In contrary to, like, people being bred in TNA and we don't even have access to stuff like that. But all these moments, not that I'm trying to plug the WWE network, but all these moments are living there. And whenever you get that itch to want to go back to watch either something you grew up to or you can relate to, it's all there. And it's like Jamal, like some days I just go back to be like, man, I'm about to go back to that one Starcade from that year, not because I can see myself, just because I just want to remember the chills or the feels or whatever happened during it. And as well, and Bobby to bring Heenan.
How much does this match or network cost?
How much? What?
How much is there a price associated with this network?
So anyway, yeah. So it's there and it's available, and like I said, is this some moments you just want to go back just to relive some of those moments. Okay, our last topic for tonight is the most talked about topic right now this week in wrestling, and it happens to be the Jinder Mahal's racist promo that he did on SmackDown this week. And the floor is open. I mean, literally, I wrote this question is, did he go too far? Is a good way to start. But no, the floor is open. I want to hear thoughts, reactions, or just anything on this right now.
I didn't see the promo because why would I ever watch SmackDown? But from what I've been reading, it doesn't. I wouldn't say that he's gone too far because worse has been said, on purpose in WWE. And even the way it was worded, unless what I'm reading is wrong, he was saying what people would do, not that he did. The actual comment that people took too far was that when he called Nakamura Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. I think he actually worded it as, "This is what you think of him as," not "This is what I'm calling him," which is something different. And the audience said that's too far. Well,
and I gotta chime in on that, and just to say too, how far off is he from that? If he is the champion, who knows? Like, he's the champion. He's done everything right. He has not failed no drug test, and he's being turned on because he's not pretty much booking himself as a heel. He's telling you guys that he's different, comes from a different country with a huge backing, and you guys don't like me because of that. Who's to say that Nakamura would not be the same thing?
The problem with Jinder Mahal is that he's not getting enough heat as a heel champion. His gimmick is not anti-American; it's just pro somebody else.
But at the same time, too, do you want him to get so much heat that you have the Indian crowd sort of turning against WWE?
Well, I'm not Indian, so I can't speak for them.
But I mean,
I grew up.
We always thought this was all about the money here. This has always been about the money.
But I grew up going to ECW shows where people threw batteries in the ring because of what was being said, what the wrestlers were saying. So as far as like physical violence, where like a group of dudes that watched the show was ready to storm the ring, I was there for that. Not for that, but I was there and that happened. So it's not necessarily like, is this what it's come to, where you can make a statement like that and it's perceived as racist and all that good stuff? Is that going too far? Well, do we blame Jinder Mahal or do we blame the people that wrote it? Because he didn't ad-lib this. This was his script. He memorized it and said it. And the WWE puts out a statement saying, "Oh, we didn't know what happened. Sorry." That's BS.
Okay. Before I respond back, give everybody else a chance. What do you guys think on this?
I too did not see it because I was at a screening of it, which was also quite good. I'm not sad I missed this promo because it just sounded like the same bullshit that he's been spouting every week with a little dash of racism. So I do understand that there was that nuance of this is what Americans think of him, and that was maybe not necessarily communicated very well. But regardless, it's such low-hanging fruit in terms of heel heat promos that we should be beyond it by now. I mean, the whole "you're not American, you don't look the same, you're a bad person." They could be doing so much more with this, and the sooner they get that belt off Jinder, I mean, the better. How much more does he have in the tank? I mean, make all your on the gas jokes now while you can, but I don't think that there's anything else they can do here. They're going to totally forget about this segment. They're going to pretend it never happened.
Well, they didn't upload it to the YouTube channel. Sorry? Yeah, they didn't upload it to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, they're just they're never going to reference it again. They will probably not go back to that. I mean, I've read conflicting opinions that they should address it, and they should make some kind of clarification around it. But in this day and age, with everything else that's going on in the world, do we really need to add more casual racism bullshit to it? I'm not necessarily talking about the Mr. Miyagi comment, but the R and the L switch he was doing with they look the same. Like that's one step away from doing the slanted eyes with your fingers, in my opinion, which is so uncalled. You can't do that. That's horrible. It's just it was so distasteful. You can't do that. It's awful.
So hold on. Before I respond to that, do you have?
Sorry, I'm getting hot about this.
No, it's the last topic. Give it all you got. Jonathan, you got something there? You want to chime in here?
Yeah, I would just add, I initially turned away from the promo because I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling Jinder Mahal. I haven't really been able to get behind this championship run, but I did go back and look at it a little bit later. Someone had video on Twitter because I saw the reaction, and I do think it was in poor taste, particularly because they just returned from a successful tour of Osaka, Japan this past weekend.
Good point. That's awful.
And so to come on TV 2 days later and trash your biggest Japanese star just seemed illogical to me. From a business perspective, a social perspective, a fill-in-the-blank perspective. And so, I think it was in poor taste, and yeah, it doesn't surprise me it wouldn't surprise me, I should say, if they never reference it again, because they shouldn't.
No.
They shouldn't reference it again, and I think that's mostly because it's just dumb. It wasn't smartly done. It's not a smart angle to take. What are you doing? Now, I don't even think that Jinder is the character that could even touch that subject. If the Briscoes wanted to do it, okay, I believe that a little bit more, though it probably shouldn't be done anyway because it's racism, and racism is just damn dumb anyway. With that said, the problem with Jinder Mahal, I think he's actually been a decent champion, and he's been exactly what I've been asking for. I want somebody different. Not necessarily a black guy or just a not John Cena type, but I want somebody that hasn't really had that chance, and he's actually done it well. It was a surprise when he's won it. It's a surprise that he still has the belt. And honestly, unfortunately, there aren't too many people that I would rather see with the belt than not Jinder. Orton doesn't need to be champion ever again. He's done it all. Ziggler, we agree. No. Sami Zayn, no. AJ Styles, maybe. But then where do you go from there? Kevin Owens, okay, maybe. So out of their entire roster, they have 2 potential successors to the throne. That's a bigger problem than actually having Jinder Mahal keep the belt throughout the summer. But now that we're into like the meat of it between Survivor Series, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, the Rumble, and WrestleMania, this will determine how much faith they have in him going forward. As you have, the dog days of summer are over, and people are at home watching TV again. So what's been the magic? First of all, hold on, I gotta ask, and this may just be the stupidity of me calling somebody Mr. Miyagi is racist. Yes.
Is that like a casual racist turn, or is that like a reference in disregard to Karate Kid?
I think it's just basically like shorthand for a stereotype kind of
deal. I mean, when you look at, for a number of different reasons, it's just damn dumb and racist. And that would be like saying that all black guys are Kevin Hart. I mean, consider the context of it. Him as a foreigner to America is saying that Shinsuke Nakamura looks like an 80-year-old karate instructor, just a short, round,
because they all look the same. You're like, oh, ridiculous.
Right. So there lies the problem.
I don't know, man. It's not like he came out here and called the Japanese person Jackie Chan, and I think that's absolutely like bad. But
that's probably coming next. Just watch.
Yeah, that's actually worse because Jackie Chan's from China.
Okay.
That's the point, though. It's just completely ignorant and dumb. You shouldn't even broach that level of stupidity.
Okay, so you're saying if you're all right.
There are different ways to get heat. Yeah. Bagging on someone's ethnicity is not one of them.
Okay, right. So look, the job's accomplished here in poor taste. They got more heat on him. And the other thing is,
no, they didn't.
What? How did they not get more heat on this guy?
Because people are walking away and not booing him.
No,
people are not saying I hate Jinder Mahal. People are saying screw this. I'm watching something else.
Hey, but that's still considered heat to him because he is the deliverer of it. When the WWE has to deliver, so to say, a statement on you about it, then it is what it is. I think it's not pure wrestling heat, but it is heat nonetheless. Because people now say, "Oh, this guy's like out here complaining about being different," and people going against him. What type of shot did he just take 2 consecutive weeks,
I disagree with that because Eva Marie did not do herself any favors by
not taking bumps.
Outside of the building.
Not taking bumps?
No, well, that too. I mean, the whole wrestling acumen is a different problem. But the idea is that there is, a good pop. There is a bad pop.
Yeah.
The fact that Roman Reigns versus John Cena and people cheered for the perceived lesser of 2 evils. Not because they liked the guy, because they booed Cena when he came out initially, and then cheered him during the promo because truth kind of cuts kind of deep. So that's not a good reaction. Cena isn't like the overwhelming face in the situation. He's just a guy that I hate less. Versus an actual heel that makes me feel like I don't like this guy. Kevin Owens, for example, does that very well. But then again, they got Kevin Owens
but Kevin Owens also takes the unpopular style of containing heel heat. I don't particularly think ever aiming after somebody's family is particularly a good thing, and it's all perceived by however you want it to take. I honestly don't think to the original question that he went too far in certain extents. One, because of the fact that the whole thing was supposed to be comedic, so that the jokes did not lay flat like they were supposed to and fell flat. I mean, that's just like any comedian out there on the stage anyway, trying to do that. We know it was a comedic scene because they're doing gestures and all that other stuff.
That is not true because the difference is the difference between comedy and what WWE is doing is a comedy is you can kind of get a pass because of the intent. The intent of Mahal's speech is to piss people off. So the fact that we have to delve into a gray area of racism is never okay.
I don't even agree with that either. And that's just borderline saying, like, with Dolph Ziggler coming out as Ultimate Warrior, that wasn't right. Considering that his wife was out there.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
But his whole intent on these last 2 weeks were to tell people, like, oh, does this make you guys happy? Like, does this work?
Yeah, well, whether it's Dolph coming out as the Ultimate Warrior, or Jinder saying what he said, or Paige referencing Charlotte Flair's dead brother, these things are in poor taste. That's because they involve somebody that is outside of, they're not there to defend themselves. That's not cool. Don't bring them into it. Kevin Owens telling Shane McMahon to his face, I wish you would have died in a helicopter, is something different. That's a, face-to-face conversation. None of those things are actually racist, though. And that is what the X factor is with Jinder Mahal, which, and if you want to nitpick his actual wording and whether or not that can be determined racist or not, the perception is, and unfortunately that's the most important thing, is that it's not okay. It's borderline racist, and that shit should never happen.
I don't know.
But I don't blame him for it specifically because he's only writing what the writers write for him.
Right. Well, anywho, whatever WWE's ultimate purpose is or objective here, it's a business, and our magic word for the whole day has been a cash lure. Am I right, Kaylin? Because you said it about 40 times.
I believe she said cash grab.
Oh, cash grab. Sorry. That's actually.
I was talking about the box. I was talking about the boxing for that, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure they're getting a lot of press.
But yeah, so anywho, so we wrap up the show, Jamal, because it rolls off your tongue a lot better than it rolls off ours. Where can Nova Pro tomorrow live?
So that we said we're going to be there. Doors open at 7:30. The bell time is at 8 p.m. It's at the Jewish Community Center of Northern Virginia. That's 8900 Little River Turnpike in Fairfax, VA. The pre-show, we're probably going to start at like 6:30, and that'll run for about half an hour. But the doors open at 7:30. The big match is, of course, Logan Easton LaRoe, your champion of the 1% and the only Commonwealth Cup winner ever, and the PWI Ultra J champion. He'll face Eric Royal, who's kind of been like the #2 guy in Nova Pro since the beginning. So that's going to be very interesting. Bo Crockett versus Innocent Isaiah. We've had them both on the show recently, and they're in a last man standing match. So God help them there. Angelus Lane, who survived Keith Lee, barely. She did not win, but damn it, she didn't survive. She's going to be taking on Mae Young Classic competitor Nia Yim, who definitely has some local ties as well. And for the first time ever, the Ugly Ducklings versus the Carnies. I didn't know that was a first-time match, but that's going to happen tomorrow night at the Nova Pro Wrestling's Nova Project 3, celebrating their 3rd year of indie wrestling in Northern Virginia. That's tomorrow, 22nd of September, at the GCC of Northern Virginia, 7:30. The doors open. Show starts at 8 o'clock. Front row is 25. Everything else is 20. Bring the kids, bring your grandma, bring everybody, and come see the wrestling.
Can't say it no better than that. Well, yeah. Anybody else got any closing remarks before we get out of here for tonight?
Fuck the revival.
Why?
Never mind. Just fuck the revival.
Yeah. If you have to explain it, then it's not worth explaining.
What I mean?
The one thing. Sorry. Speaking of YouTube, the thing I didn't mention, Dak, when we were talking about Roman versus Cena. If anybody's listening to this, and you have not seen the Roman Reigns song, go to YouTube and look up the Roman Reigns song. It's a classic, and it'll be in your head forever. Every time you hear his music, you'll hear it, and it's great.
Okay, I gotta hear that. Hoping it's as bad as the Kevin Hart "I'm Sorry" song, because that I listened to once, and now that's stuck in my head. Dr. If you got any closing remarks when we roll out?
Oh wait, sorry.
Shout out to Randy Orton, who has been mentioned a couple times tonight, because I just started thinking about the fact that Randy Orton has had a pretty awful 2017, starting with that terrible WrestleMania match. Then he had to do, what was it called, like a House of Horrors or something match with Bray Wyatt that was just absurd, only to then go and drop his WWE title to Jinder Mahal of all people. And now he's in this sort of random stop and go, what is the point of this feud with Rusev? And somehow he still shows up to work every day. I admire him for that, because I could see him being like some wrestlers that I won't name right now who are upset with their direction. They decide to leave WWE and, do shoot interviews and whatnot. And yet Randy Orton is sticking around doing his job like a true professional. So shout out to him.
I'm going to make a correction to what I said earlier. Go to YouTube, look up Roman Reigns theme with lyrics, full version. otherwise you're just going to get his shitty song. Don't listen to his theme. Listen to the lyrics. The lyric version.
You tweet it. I'll retweet that. I want to see what you're talking about. I want to hear this revival thing before I go. So come on, give it to me.
Look up Being the Elite. It's in Being the Elite.
It's a thing.
Okay.
It's an important thing. Very important thing.
It's a very important thing. So the last thing I will say, number one, where's Hangman? The second thing is, if you're in the Chicago area or Detroit, particularly Summit, Illinois, and Livonia, Michigan, this Friday and Saturday night, Cedric Alexander, one of my favorites, will be at Evolve.
I heard that. Yeah.
And that is pretty big. He's going to take on Fred Yehi, which is going to be nuts, on Saturday for Evolve 93 in Chicago. And I believe he's going to take on Zack Sabre Jr. In Michigan on tomorrow night. So if I weren't going to be in Virginia, I would definitely be in Chicago on Saturday. So get out there for that.
Interesting. I wonder how that's working or how that got worked out or whatever, but that's good. And this is why everything we talked about earlier with Dolph Ziggler going to do whatever to come back, or, whatever type of contract they can do to work that. In other words, the Cody Rhodes or the embedder, the Drew McIntyre move, do it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in for tonight. Again, tomorrow we'll have the pre-show for Nova Pro going on. And next week we'll be back Thursday, 8 p.m. I promise to we'll be consistent. We took 1 week off, but we'll work through it. We'll get things out. So again, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys tomorrow and then next week.